Hi, y'all. Today has been a rough day. It should come to no surprise that myself, my husband, and my daughter, who's old enough to vote, we all voted for Harris. We were Harris supporters, primarily because she was not just the best person to get the job done, but the representation meant a lot to me and my daughter. So this has been a very painful day. I am filming this on the day after the election day, and I am going to be releasing it. I'm going to be editing this video today and posting it today. So this is as close to live as live is going to get. So there's a lot of chatter as to why Harris lost, why Donald Trump won. And so a lot of people are playing Monday morning quarterback or whatever the saying goes. We're going to cover what population groups specifically Harris lost. And I'm going to give you my theories as to why she lost them. And we're going to talk about how did Trump end up with such a strong Latino vote? As a Latina, that is something that is heartbreaking to me, as well as interesting to understand, but definitely heartbreaking. The election in Puerto Rico wasn't as we expected it either, and so there's a lot of pain the entire way around, and part of me just wants to go somewhere else, to a different country, because this one sucks right now. This one is not a safe place for me, my sons, my daughters. This is not a safe place for me, and by consequence, my husband. Because if anything happens to us, then my husband will be experiencing pain. So it's not a safe place for my family. So we're going through it, right? So we're gonna cover all of that. We're gonna cover everything, and I'm going to give you some idea as to why I think this happened. We're also gonna talk about statistics. We're gonna talk about what the exit polls said. If you haven't seen them, there's lots for us to cover. Before we get into that, please don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, all the things, so that I can get the exposure that I need to get, and you would be supporting me. And, that's always an honor for me. So thank you very much. So before we get started into the whole statistical data piece of it, let's just get one thing out in the open, right? So Donald Trump and his camp were surprised that they won, because they did everything within their power to lose. And so let's think about that for a moment. Let's think about why Donald Trump and his camp would be surprised that they won when they did everything within their power to lose, and they ended up winning. So I'm going to introduce you all to the topic, the idea of intersectionality. We're going to talk about what Kamala Harris's gender, race, and ethnic identity have to do with her having lost this race. And we're going to talk about how emboldened Trump supporters now feel. Now, if you are friends with Trump supporters, if you know a Trump supporter, they're an angry bunch. Listen, they could get pissed off that they were called garbage. In my opinion, You heard it here first. If you support a rapist, if you support a man that harms people, if you support a man that has said that he is willing to, or he's going to protect women whether they like it or not, as if we don't have functioning brains, and you are true to that and you hold on to that, fuck it, you are garbage. You heard it here first. Make no mistake. Make no mistake. I will be completely straight up with my gangster. If you support that piece of shit and you voted for him, you are fucking garbage. You are garbage. You are garbage. That means that my life doesn't mean anything to you. That means that my daughter's lives don't mean anything to you. That means that my daughter's reproductive health and well-being, not just their right to a safe abortion, right? Because certain abortion practices are used for deliveries. They are used to assist a woman in maintaining her health. They are used for women that have experienced different health concerns. They're not just for abortions. And if you outlaw certain practices, you are putting women's lives at risk. So you support him that did that? Oh, you're a piece of shit. You're a piece of shit. Like, you're garbage. Absolutely. So they may have wanted to walk that back because they wanted to be more welcoming. But let's just call a spade, right? The man was found liable for having sexually assaulted a woman several times. Yes, the man is a convicted felon, 34 counts of felonies. This is who you're supporting. The explanation has been given to you that the inflation that we were experiencing that is now under control has nothing to do with the Biden administration. Could they have been more proactive in expressing that? Absolutely. In the daily briefings, could they have said something about that? Absolutely. Should they have? Probably. But it doesn't make any sense that you're blaming the president for the price of eggs and milk. He doesn't have control over that. The profits that the grocery stores are making, or that the giant corporations are making, aren't lining the president's pockets. So how does it make sense that the president of the United States would have a say in the prices of groceries? Or are you just mad that the black woman was the one that was up for election? So let's ponder that for a little bit, right? Let's just think about that. I'm going to put that in the background. Let's move on to the next one. That she doesn't have leadership qualities. I've heard that. Now, leadership is not being abusive and draconian and awful, telling people what to do, delegating staff, and then making your direct reports feel like shit. That's not leadership. Leadership is not being a racist. Leadership is not being abusive with your use of language. Leadership is supporting people find their own leadership and guiding them as they explore that. Hopefully, people's exploring of their own leadership will get the job done. The job is done. They're leaders because they're managing their work. You're managing them, so you're inherently being a leader. But being a leader, a true leader, creates additional leaders. A true leader is not Donald Trump. Donald Trump is not a leader. So when I hear things like, this woman is she was a whole district attorney. A whole district attorney. She was top cop for the state of California. She was a whole senator. She led teams. She was clearly, on her resume at least, clearly better qualified than Donald Trump has ever been on his best day, and still her leadership is called into question. That's code for she doesn't have the right skin color, so we're going to call it something else. Or she happens to not have a penis, so we're going to call it something else and say that it's something else. Okay, so leadership. Let's put that one to the background. If you know any Trump supporters, have you noticed how angry they are after having won the election? It's so strange. Why are you so mad? The guy you wanted to win won. You're mad because now we know that more than 50% of the country is racist, prefers a rapist to someone that has prosecuted rapists, and used every excuse under the sun to not give Kamala Harris a chance. Crime is down, lower than it was under Trump. People are living in a lot less trauma than they were under Trump. Immigrant families are not experiencing the trauma that they were experiencing under Trump. And immigration is down under Biden. What Donald Trump has fed you is a lie. And you fell for it. Now we're going to see what happens starting January of 2025. We're going to see. And something tells me that everything that you Trump supporters expected to happen is not going to happen. The majority of the people that voted for Trump make between $50,000 and $99,000 per year, and you trust a billionaire over the word of a woman who was raised by a working class immigrant on your financial well-being. How do you trust the enemy? You don't become a billionaire by being a nice person. How do you trust a billionaire to line your pockets over someone that lived your life? Because he has a penis and she has a vagina? Because he has white skin and she has dark skin? Okay. So how men and women voted. So overall, in the United States, 54% of men voted Republican, and 54% of women voted Democrat. In those specific figures, the highest was in North Carolina, where 58% of men voted for Trump, and 55% of women in North Carolina voted for Harris. The one that's intriguing to me is how parents voted. 60% of fathers, 60% of dads voted for Trump. 60% of you don't care if your daughter bleeds out in a parking lot because she doesn't have access to treatment for a failed pregnancy. 60% of you. That's disgusting. %60 of fathers voted for Trump. 55% of 51%, pardon me, of moms voted for Harris. 46% of moms voted for Trump. 46% of moms voted against their daughter's best interests from a health perspective. That's almost half. You put two moms together in a room, one of those moms is likely to vote against their daughter's best interest from a health perspective. Think of it that way. You put two moms in a room together, and one of them would not have their daughter's well-being at heart. You put 10 dads in a room together, and 6 of those dads would not have their daughter's well-being in mind or at heart. These are stark statistics. Now, the powers that be would say that the voters aren't wrong, something is wrong with the Democratic Party, and the Democratic Party has to fix it. For me, so just to give you some background, the sciences that I study psychology and I study human services. What I do for a living is I work with survivors of domestic and sexual violence. I work with people. What this tells me is that our society is sick. I'm going to respectfully disagree with the studied politicians, and I'm going to say we got an issue in our society from a cultural perspective. How do you vote for a man who literally said that he's going to protect your wife and daughter over you protecting your wife and daughter? How do you vote for a man that literally emasculated you and didn't care? And that man is a rapist. What kind of society is this? How do you vote for that man? 60% of you guys did. You're going to trust my safety in the hands of a rapist? Mm-mm. 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 Needless to say, of course, in terms of white voters, 63% of white non-college educated women, 63% of white non-college graduate women voted for Trump. 63%. And this is why education is fundamental. 69% of white non-college graduate men voted for Trump. 50% of white college graduate men voted for Trump. And 41% of white college graduate women voted for Trump. So 57% of white college graduate women voted for Harris. 47% of white college graduate men voted for Harris. So Harris really won with the Black women population across the board, with the college graduated white women across the board. She won with Latina women across the board. And she won with young women. So if you were middle-aged, white, regardless of your age, statistically speaking, you voted for Trump. Now, the last graph we're going to look at is the voting by race graph. So Donald Trump won 57% of the white vote. Donald Trump won 13% of the black vote. Donald Trump won 46% of the Latino vote. Donald Trump won 39% of the Asian vote. He won for 54% of other, which is 3% of voters, and non-white, which were 29% of voters. He won 33%. So really, white men came out by a lot to vote for Trump. They were 71% of the voters, and they showed up and they voted. 60% of them were dads. Okay, so where do we go from here? Please don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, all the things. I know that this was a little bit of a ranting and a reprimand fest. I'm a parent, and I believe in holding myself and my peers accountable. And I'm old enough where the middle age group is pretty close to my age group, and that is unacceptable. That is unacceptable. We are supposed to be the generation that is doing healing, intergenerational healing and restoration, and moving to a space of health and well-being. And we are going towards an authoritarian regime under a man that adores the likes of Putin and the North Korean dictator. What is wrong with us? Because he voiced some of those very dark thoughts you have about how much you hate either being a minority, or how much you hate minorities, or how much you hate women. He gave that a voice, so you voted for him? Get it together. And Latinos, what are we doing? That man doesn't care about us. That man doesn't care about us. He wants to break up your family. If you are undocumented, fuck it. Documented, undocumented. If you're not a U.S. citizen, guess what's going to happen to you? What is wrong with us? Okay. So, call to action. I end my videos with a call to action. So what are we going to do? We have work to do. Those of you that like the authoritarian regime, you voted for him. There's a good chunk, about half of the country, wants Donald Trump. You'll have Donald Trump. You will have Donald Trump. And everything that Donald Trump said he was going to do, he's going to work to do. We're going to probably lose the Affordable Care Act. We are going to have probably additional judges that are conservative, that are going to pass conservative rulings. We are going to have additional school shootings. So parents, hold your children tight. Give them hugs and kisses and tell them how much you love them before they leave the house and go to school, because the Republican Party doesn't give a fuck about your kids. Yeah, we're entering a dark space. And those of us that did our civic duty, considering everything that was in front of us and took it seriously, our voices were heard. But now we have a job to do. And so our job is to activate and to mobilize and to spread the message and spread the word. I made a promise when I became a parent to my children that I was going to leave this place in a better place than how I got it. And I am going to do everything I can within my power to leave my children a safer world than the one that I grew up in. And I am going to do it. And I implore you to do it with me. Our children deserve better. I cannot thank you enough for listening. If you made it all the way, thank you. I am honestly humbled and I'm honored. Please don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. This was a heartfelt video made from my heart to yours. Thank you.